Greetings, Kerbonauts! This is Kerbal Space Program. I'm Bob Fitch, and this is episode number 25 of the Gateway Project, in which we are going to launch the JEM, part of Kibo, the pressurized module that's part of the Japanese section of the station. However, you remember last time when we were launching this particular rocket? But like I said, where could it be going? Well, we're gonna find out in the next episode, not in this one. Well, Kerbonauts, this is the next episode now, so we are going to find out what this was all about. And you can see as the shroud comes off that it sort of looks like a Hydra, sort of looks like a crew carrier, perhaps. We have our solar panels coming out. Well, it looks a little bit different now. It's got a couple little changes down underneath. But so far, it still looks pretty similar. Very large rocket down underneath, though, so obviously this is going someplace a little bit further away than just, ooh, look at that booster separation. I got those from the KSS mod. Well, anyway, we're going someplace a little bit further away because we have that super efficient KW rocketry engine on there with the 400 ISP. It has that really large nozzle. The reason why you want a really large nozzle like that in space is you want all of your exhaust from your rocket to be going in the same direction. Because of the lower gravity, it kind of just wants to go everywhere. So that longer, larger nozzle allows it to force that exhaust in the same direction for longer before it actually escapes and starts going in every which way direction. And that makes it much more efficient. Okay, so what is this? Well, it's unmanned. You can see in the bottom there's nobody in it, and yet it looks like a crew carrier. It's definitely not a cargo carrier, but there is something going on down underneath. Now you might ask, why am I going in such a large trajectory? Well, we're heading out to Minmus, and I wanted to get there in the day, and every single launch window I had was going to go in the night unless I took that really long approach to come down on Minmus. So now we're going to find out what this is all about. It's not cargo, and it's not technically crew either. Here it is. It's my lander. I had that hidden up underneath there with a procedural fairing that it's an interstage fairing that covers up anything that's in the middle of the rocket and doesn't actually have the top. So this is an automated landing that's going down to the Minmus base. And the reason is they have no way to get back right now. If they want to leave, they would have to maybe hop in their command module, which is intended to land on Minmus and just stay there the whole time. They'd have to get in that and hope maybe that they could go up to the station. So with this, bringing in this lander, despite my kind of really bad frame rate right here, that's why we're coming in sideways, with this lander, they'll be able to get back. Yeah, there's too many ships over here, so with all the ships and all the parts in this location, with none of this being welded, the frame rate drops down to like 8 or so, unfortunately. It's a little bit harder to land, but that's okay. By coming in from the side like I did, it made it easier because it was a nice slow approach. So what's going to happen to that injection stage? Is it orbital debris? No, it was on a trajectory directly into the planet when it got here, into the moon. And for whatever reason, the camera just keeps on sailing off into the horizon after it crashes. Okay, well, it's time for another launch, but look where the sun is and look at the orbit of the space station right now. It's directly sideways, which means basically I don't have any good launch window right now in order to get light for the launch itself. It would either be too early in the morning and dark or too late at night and dark. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go for a while here, just orbiting around several times, waiting until the sun actually moves in the sky so that now I can be back on a 45-degree mark and able to launch in mornings. Well, the orbit is going over mission control, and the station is sort of coming in the right place, but it's a little bit off. However, I have to launch. I need to go out and check on my life support in the different places. I think Minmus might be running a little bit low by now, and probably the station is okay, but we might need to send up some additional life support anyway, maybe in the next launch or something. Right now, though, we are underway with the JEM-PM. That is the Japanese experiment module, the pressurized module. It is known as Kibo, which means hope in Japanese. It's the second module that we're sending up. If you remember last time, we sent up the ELMPS. We docked that up on top of the Harmony module, but it really is supposed to go down on the end of Kibo. So it was only there temporarily. Once Kibo is able to dock up, we will move that down and put it on top of this module, and then the first two segments will actually be complete. These are the first 2 of 6. Now technically, actually, there's also a robotic arm in here, so really this is the first 3 of 6. And there goes another beautiful first stage separation. I love the way that looks going down like that. In our world, this was launched on a space shuttle STS-124 in May 2008. And there it is. Kibo is now exposed. The solar panels are coming out. And on the end of it, you can see what I'm using to represent the robotic arm right there. We're still setting up our rendezvous, and you can see that really poorly inclined orbit. That's the result of that earlier launch when I talked about how we weren't quite in the right position. And here's a beautiful little view as the station goes soaring overhead, and now we're speeding to catch up to it as it has already flown by. So, Kibo here, it's coming up on mission number 75 of the 143 that I'm tracking, and we'll have to conduct some EVAs to get that all set up, which will put us at EVA 119 out of 175. So we're getting pretty far along in the construction of the station now. We're lining it up. Ooh, are we coming in too close to those solar panels? Oh, it's just an optical illusion. Okay. So we're easing our way down there now. So this module, it's pretty big. It's 11.2 meters in the real world, which is putting it at almost 7 meters in my scaled down version. The original launch of this weighed almost 16 tons. And bam, there we are. We are all docked up. Hey, that little tug, I would swear that tug on top, I undocked that and deorbited that previously. I think what happened was my saved game, I think I crashed or something, and when I came back, some stuff hadn't actually been done that had been done in the past. Maybe that's all for the best though, because I need to use the tug here in order to move that ELM over on top of the JEM, Kibo. I'll just call it Kibo, because it's a lot easier than saying JEM. Well, we're going to decouple and deorbit that again, apparently. If I hadn't had it here because of the save game problem, what I would have just done is brought up a radial mounted docking node, and I would have attached that using an EVA, and then I would have hooked up some new tug and just tugged it over there using that. It would have been easy with Kerbal attachment system. Oh, gee, going right by those solar panels really close in this episode. Alright, but now we're going to zoom away and watch as the station disappears into the distance. We also have to get rid of our injection stage, and fortunately we're remembering to put CPUs on them. They're the standard KLS now, so that's just part of my sub-assembly. And once again, we'll fire that one off retro and watch as the station disappears into the distance. So this new pressurized module, it is for JAXA, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. It contains 23 payload racks, and that's a lot of racks. There are 10 of them devoted to science and 13 to systems and storage. Meanwhile, Bob out here, he's doing his EVA to clean up some of the stuff that we needed. We had to have those RCS engines on there in order to get it to easily maneuver and dock it up. But now we can get rid of them. They are no longer needed. We'll just stick them on this tug because that tug is going to decouple later on, and we're going to deorbit that as well. Above Bob's head right now, you can see what I'm using to represent their robotic arm. This is the JEM RMS, or Remote Manipulating System. It was the third element that went up. Most of it comes up on this flight, the STS-124, but in a later flight, when the HTV-1, the very first Japanese cargo carrier, goes up, that's when the the last little bit of it there, is supposed to be brought up, and then they hook that up, and then the arm is complete at that point. So now Bob has to go and get, apparently I forgot those jets. I had put them on in a really, really early episode because I was simulating what happened in our universe, where they hooked some stuff up to get ready for that P6 to be moved down to the end of the station. What happened to the texture? Does that look black or does that look white? It looks black to me. I think something's wrong with my texture on those radiators. I'm going to have to check that out. Anyway, I had simulated the work that was done on the P6 by putting out those RCS jets on an EVA, and that allowed me then to also make use of them by maneuvering it using that monopropellant. Looks like the RCS is firing on that ATV right there as well. I think that might be because Bob bumped into the radiator by mistake, and when he did, it caused the station to start to jiggle a little bit. And right now the SAS is trying to hold the station in place, and so the monopropellant, the RCS, they're firing all across the station, and probably the gyroscopes, which you can actually see right there above his head, the control moment gyroscopes on the back of the Z. Alright, so Bob has done his duty. Our little Kerman can go back inside the station and get himself a snack, because all that EVA makes him hungry, that's for sure. And speaking of being hungry and needing snacks, the station is running low. We need life support up there, so we are going to simulate the next launch of the Leonardo, which actually is still not the Leonardo because it still doesn't have any way of recovering it. So I guess it's going to be the Donatello or something like that. So we're going to bring up our life support inside another one of those sort of multi-purpose modules right there. While this module is on its way up to the station, I want to talk about that robotic arm just a little bit more. So you're going to notice when you look at it that it doesn't have any infernal robotics joints. So yeah, it's technically supposed to be a robotic arm, but to keep the part count down, and I don't know if you've looked at my robotics window on the station lately, but because of that Canadarm, it's long. There's all kinds of servos in there already, and I really don't want to add yet more servos and more moving parts and things that I'm probably just going to want to remove later to keep my part count down and my frame rate up. So it doesn't actually articulate, but I did at least put in a couple beams where hopefully those beams will give the impression that there's an arm there, and that could theoretically be out there manipulating those experiments and moving them back and forth to the airlock. And bam, we've locked up another module on the station. We can begin the process of transferring all of that food and water and oxygen over, and some of the waste off. The waste, of course, being just snack wrappers, right? We're not going to get into what other things might be up there. At least that's not what I personally enjoy doing. So we won't go there. But we will bring snacks on the station. And now the Kerbals are very happy, but I'm not so happy because my part count is up in the 500s. We're going to decouple this, even though it was only there for just a moment, and we're going to decouple the ATV-1 and send the Jules Verne home. Jules Verne should now go burn up over in our world, the Pacific, I guess. But here I'm just going to send it over whatever it happens to be over at the time that happens to also be in the daylight. So on down it goes, and I'm ready. Bring on those re-entry effects. Any second now. Where were my re-entry effects? I checked the debug menu, no re-entry effects. There's a red exception of some kind in there. Maybe it's related, but it didn't look like it was related. I don't know. Hey, there's Mun. So down comes ATV number 1, crashing into the surface instead, but of course being completely obliterated on impact. No, not completely obliterated on impact. In fact, there's quite a bit of it left. I wonder if this counts. This certainly doesn't count for Bill, right? This isn't orbital debris. We have ground crews that can go and collect all this. And some balls are rolling down the hill. And an antenna. Hello, dancing antenna. What the... Okay. Whatever. And the rolling continues. Okay, well, let's go do something else. For some reason, our radiators had turned black, so why don't we take a look? Aha, it was a texture compressor. I had installed a new texture compressor, and it must have done something to the texture and caused it to go black. By turning off the compressor, it's not black anymore. Let's take a look at that JEM-PM in the assembly building, shall we? Here it is under our large rocket. It has itself up on top. Another Pixie mini tug. No, that's not the Pixie. It's the Pixie 2. To give it enough power to make sure that we can put it into place. We have some temporary RCS jets on the end of it, just to keep it balanced while it's moving. If we take that off of there, we can see that it has a docking node down here to attach it to the rest of the station, a couple lights and lights along the way. That is a docking node so that we can move the upper module on top of this one. This is theoretically where stuff would go in and out through a small airlock out onto the platform that is not attached yet, but when it's attached, it will go on that. And all the rest of this is a single welded part together. You can see what it's supposed to look like right here. Checking on the Minmus ground station here, I can see that the food is down to 24. That is going to give them 8 days of food because they're using 1 each, so that's roughly 8 days. The water and the oxygen is doing fine because we do have over in this one of these here, it's that one right there. We have in that module over there a converter that is continuing to produce both water and oxygen by turning that wastewater into something more useful, and the CO2 is getting scrubbed. But the food is getting low, so we do need to send up some additional supplies. We're waiting for a launch window, but this time it's not a launch window waiting for the station. It was just waiting for us to be under Minmus's orbit. So the same way we would normally launch to the station, we are launching to Minmus. Our payload is ready. It is sitting atop this itty bitty rocket, and it's now on its way. While we're launching, I'll take this opportunity to tell you some of the things that I've been up to and some of the things that I've been thinking about getting up to. So I have received from a fabulous fan who recompiled the UBO welder for me a modified DLL that now functions in 0.23. Whoa! Those boosters separated really fast. Okay, well those maybe I want to tone down the thrust on those boosters. Anyway, so let's see how bad is it on this one. Oh, that's not so bad. So that was a heavier segment there, that stage. So it's just those boosters maybe need to be toned down just a little bit. So there's our payload. We've got our snacks up on top there, and they're getting ready to head off toward Minmus. So I had a fan who helped me out, recompiled for 023, the UBO welder, so now I can use it in this version, and I don't need to go back. We'll set up our little remote tech here to point back at Kerbal before we get underway, just to make sure we don't lose communications while we're out in deep space, although I suspect that I don't really need to do any mid-course correction. We'll see here in a moment, but because I have launched on the same trajectory with Minmus's orbit, I probably can just burn right here and just go straight there. So some other things that I've been playing around with. I installed the latest version of the Real Solar System mod because I have this crazy idea that maybe I would be interested in not doing a whole ISS, but perhaps launching a couple modules just to see what it would be like in Real Solar System. It's been a long time since I actually used Real Solar System, and it might be fun to go back there again and do like the Zarya module in real scale, like really the whole length of it, possibly even where you could be inside it with a Kerbal. Wouldn't that be awesome? So we are at Minmus here, and I'm just shifting my orbit so that it'll go down over the landing site. Minmus is so low gravity, I don't really care. I got plenty of fuel on this rocket. I don't care that I came in at sort of a bad angle and I had to do a really hard inclination change. Who cares? There's so much fuel on this stage. We're going to decouple it right here, still with some fuel on it. We don't need that anymore because there's plenty to land just in my little module here. I don't even know. It looks like a satellite to me, but it's technically a lander. Whatever. It's bringing snacks. Who cares what it's called? So we got to just kind of eyeball it a little bit here. I want to get right up close to the command center, right on the end there on the bottom left. But I'm just sort of eyeballing my way in, little thrust here, little change of angle there, and we'll just see if we can set it down nice and gentle. And here we come, and 3, 2, 1. Oh, maybe not 3, 2, 1. There we go. Okay, touchdown. And we have landed, so Bob can go out. Bill can go out there. I'm so used to Bob doing all the EVAs. Bill can go out there, and he can hook up that pipe endpoint, which will now start pumping those snacks across into the rest of that whole big, like it's one big ship, basically, when it's hooked up with those pipe endpoints. And it'll pump those snacks through there, and everybody can eat up and be happy. Let's see, one other thing I tried is a new texture compressor, but eventually I turned it off because it was screwing up some of my textures. So now let's take a look at what we just launched. The one you just saw flying is my KLS-2. It had a 1.25 meter rocket with the expanded fairing up top to support the slightly larger cargo. Little differences, I used some slightly bigger boosters than I normally would put on a rocket of this size. Previously I'd been using the Pegasus Minis, and these are the small Pegasus ones. I do need to save off this new version of it though, because it has the new boosters on it. Unless of course I don't want those on there anymore because they shot off so fast. I might just let them drop off on those next time. But this one wasn't so bad. I didn't mind the one down here at the bottom. Moving our way up, we had some more the same down here. And then the actual thing, it kind of looks like a satellite actually. So you saw it. This is a decoupler down here, and I just put some struts for landing gear basically. And we have those pipe endpoints and some engines, a whole bunch of snacks. There's crazy amount of snacks. Little fuel cans and a stabilizer there, some batteries, remote tech antenna, another antenna, solar panels, you got some lights on the side, and that's about it. Next time on the Gateway Project, I'm going to be sending up the P6 truss, which is the last segment of those big solar panels, and we'll be done with the truss. I just need to weld it together right here, and then it'll be ready for next time. Also, we're going to be finding out a little bit more on the Joseph Kerman story. I believe since we're wrapping up, getting a little bit closer to the end of this whole series now, we're really going to start finding out some interesting stuff about him. So until next time, I will see you later, Kerbonauts.